Hey, fellas. Just wanted to talk to you today about some of the stuff that's going on around the country. Miss Andrea and I have been having conversations about this, and we were wondering what's going on with you, how you view what's going on, how you view what you can do to be a part of it. You know, we're looking at this. There's a lot of things happening in the United States right now. There's a lot of things that affect people of color. There's a lot of things that are affecting young black men. People are dying out here. People are protesting. People are talking about change. People are getting involved. At this point in time, there's no wrong thing that you can say other than to say or do nothing. So what we want to do is to encourage you to find a way to figure out how you can get involved, how you can solve it, how you can move into this process and get involved with what's going on around the country, what's going on in your community, and what we as black men, as people of color in this time, in this place, what we can do to be involved. And those of you who are parents, those of you who are young fathers, what can you do to help prepare your city, your state, your life for the future of your kids? So that's the discussion we want to have with you.
Right, and some of you are brothers, and a lot of you have expressed, you want to be a role model to your brother. And we don't want you to feel like, or none of us wants to feel like we're victims in this, right? There is something that we can do, and that's what this conversation is about.
Exactly. So how do you view what's going on with the police right now? How do you view your opinion of the police? Has it changed? Has the fact that there are things that are being proposed, has that changed your thinking? But better still, let's ask this question. Do you know, are you aware of the things that are being changed? Because you can't impact it. You can't make a decision to go and do something unless you're actually aware of what's going on. You have to know what changes are talking about being made. You have to know what's being proposed. You have to know what the general conversation is. Not just the news that you receive from your homeboy, not just the hyped up news that you get through social media or in the corner.
Right.
But what are some of the facts that are going on? So that's some of the other things we'd like to talk about.
Right. And if you don't have the facts, if you're just operating on hearsay, you can't make the best informed decision for yourself, for your life, for your family. And that's what's most important. A lot of times, things will happen in the world, and then you feel like, oh, well, I didn't know. Well, when did this law come into place, and how is this impacting me? And I didn't have a voice. So a lot of times you don't have a voice because you don't choose to get involved. And so that's what's important, and we want you to know that you can be involved. There's several organizations in the city that I'm aware of. I know Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. That's a grassroots organization that looks at supporting young people in the city, people of color, and what our rights are and what things are going on. I'm not sure of their exact mission, but I know they work with young people and they advocate for change, for the good. So Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle is a great organization to get involved with, just hear what's going on.
So one of the things that we encourage you to do is to become as informed as you possibly can. We'd like to discuss some of the things. We made some notes about some of the things that we currently are seeing taking place in the news, things that are up for discussion, things that are being debated that will affect you, that will affect all of us.
That's right.
So one of the things that we're talking about is you hear a lot being talked about chokeholds and lethal restraining tactics. What is it that you know about these, other than the fact that there are people dying from it? Are they used in Baltimore? Have you yourself ever been the victim of this? And if so, have you spoken up about it? Do you know people who have been injured through the use of chokeholds? These kinds of questions are really important.
But they're looking to change or create new regulations for the various police departments to not be able to use these types of tactics.
Right now, there's bills being proposed across the country. There are also some bills being proposed in the U.S. House of Representatives to deal with this, and hopefully it'll go through to the Congress and through the Senate into the Congress. So we hope that these things will take place.
And that's what all the protesting is about, like really making sure that voices are heard so that it will impact long-term change.
So right now, also in Tennessee and some other states, they're looking at what they're calling Breonna laws. Laws that are being enacted against no-knock warrants. Warrants that are being written that allow the police to enter your home with the belief that you will destroy some evidence between the time that they announce themselves coming into your door and getting to you in the house, or that you present an imminent danger to their lives. These are the two things. So in the case with Breonna Taylor, she was in bed, asleep. The door is knocked open. She comes in, and all of a sudden, our man grabs their pistol, because they have a right to have it, and starts shooting, thinking that someone was breaking into the house. And there you go. She gets shot 8 times because of a no-knock law. So now nobody wants to prosecute now. You know? Oh, we have a warrant, a legal warrant to go in there. What do we know about these laws? How can we help get these laws changed, so that warrants are not written in a way that will affect people the way that they are today? Also, one of the things on the table is civilian review boards. Mm-hmm. How do we as citizens impact what our policemen do? How do we have a say in that?
Right now, we know that Baltimore City is under a consent decree. There's lots of conversations about the various consent decrees, and they're talking about defunding the police. And what that means is the redistribution of funds. But what I found out recently is that you cannot defund a police department if they're under a consent decree. So then does that mean we need to have more conversations about how our consent decree in Baltimore City is being implemented? You know, are those things really being done, or do we need to adjust that? And what role can we play in making sure that those things happen?
And when we talk about the movement of funding with the police department, you know, we're talking about, people say defunding. Well, how are we going to take the money from the police department? Defunding does not mean not having funds to operate a police department. But what it does mean is looking at how those funds are spent, redistributing them in a way that allows for greater usage for the community, which allows for less militaristic approaches and more social approaches to governance and law enforcement. That's really important. So instead of having a policeman come up to you as dealing with someone who's having mental issues, who's having a mental health episode, then you would have someone who's trained in the mental health field come up and deal with you. Instead of having police deal with situations in which they usually take up the level of tension in the situation.
Escalated. Mm-hmm.
Instead of having people who come in, they would have people who know how to de-escalate situations and come in and lower the temperature so that other things can be done, rather than having to deal with someone forcibly, rather than pulling out weapons, rather than arresting. So these are things that we're all looking at.
I think there was also conversation too about mental health assessments on a more regular basis for police officers. So there's a whole, battery of tests that police officers go through when they're hired for the position, but subsequently, other than getting their, their gun shooting stuff renewed, they don't have regular mental health assessments unless there is an incident, right, or shooting, where they are, you know, mandated to get some type of therapy or mental health assistance. So, you know, why is it that police cannot be, you know, screened on a regular basis for their mental health, especially if they have been, you know, in cities that have high crime over years and years and years of time? What happens is people get jaded. You know, people get jaded in any position, not just police positions. You got correctional officer positions, you got case managers. If you are in a job for a long period of time and you are not getting the support or the mental health, the therapeutic support that you need to continue to deal with, you know, the challenges that come with your job, you're going to burn out. You know, and what that burnout looks like can be abusive, can be volatile, can be, you know, outbursts, all those things. So it's going to be very interesting to see if and when a bill to help make sure that it's
it will
mandatory.
diminish
Yes.
the level of service that they are able to provide to you, the people who need it most. And it also diminishes their ability to get the help that they need to be able to serve us correctly. So these are important things that we're looking at. And speaking of the cops, there's also a proposal for a national bad cop database. You know, there are cops all over the country who are people who have misconduct episodes in their case files, who have misconduct in their history, who are made to leave their job.
Fired from their job, but then they can go to another state
And they start working.
and not disclose that information and be rehired. So yet you have the same officer with this bad history and this bad, you know, experiences that he's portrayed in another state, come no consequence to another city and do it again.
So if you have a history of dropping an N-word on the people who you serve in one city, you're going to do the same thing in another city. You're carrying that person with you. Geographical change does not work. You are still taking you with you. It's the same thing that we look at with substance abuse. Well, abuse is abuse. And if someone is capable of abusing here, they're going to be capable of abusing there. The idea is to have a database so that people know, so these people are not rehired and able to perpetrate the same kind of abuse on people in new situations and new places. So what we want to make you understand that these, you know, a lot of these things, this is giving you the information. This is giving you an ability to name some of the problems. The problems are here. We see these. Now, what can we do? We generate solutions. Some of the solutions are inherent in what we just said.
That's right. Another solution is register to vote, right? Because voting matters. Voting matters at the level, at the city level. It matters. We have a presidential election come November. Your vote counts. And I'll probably do another session about registering you to vote. But you need to register to vote. Everybody can vote, no matter what your criminal background is. It doesn't matter if you're on parole or probation. I can register you to vote.
Keep your ears and your eyes, and most of all, your heart and mind open to what's going on around you. It's not just in your neighborhood. It's your entire city, your state, and this country. So things that are happening in other towns affect us just as much, and if not more. Because Baltimore has been a model for a lot of places. Look at what happened after Freddie Gray.
That's right. A lot of news reporters have been calling people who were involved. Our previous mayor, you know, had an interview talking about, you know, what we learned from that experience, and even the marches that we've had in Baltimore since the George Floyd was a successful protest with a lot of young people. I forget how
Series
many
of
thousands.
successful protests.
Right, thousands of people. But take some responsibility for, you know, not only yourself, but again, for those of you who are fathers, brothers, take responsibility for your family. This is where you're choosing to live right now. Be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem, right?
Which is helping you identify the goals that are closest to you. And if you being a good parent is a goal that's important to you, if you providing a safe space for your family to grow up is important to you, then you will learn how to become involved in these processes. And most of all, we want to help you understand that you need to evaluate the solution, see what's going to work, what you believe that you can have the most impact with, pick that solution, and then develop an action plan. And that means something that you can actually do, something that you know that you can do in a timely way, something that you can measure your level of involvement with, and something where you can say, yeah, I know that I can have a positive way in working towards that outcome. That's what we wanted to do with you here. We're sorry about the interruptions from the phone, but it's real important that everybody understand that they are involved whether they want to be or not. You are that they. You are involved. So get as informed with your involvement as possible.
All right. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to y'all soon.